You know, I recently realized that I actually don't have a flip reset tutorial on this channel. I have 100 hours of flip resets, which is kind of like a reset tutorial. And then I have a double reset and a MacTuff reset tutorial, but not just like the basic flip reset. So today, that's what we're focusing on, taking you from this to this in a few easy steps. Also, at the end, I've decided to include a bunch of bonus tips that can help with little parts that people tend to get stuck on, so stick around for that. But first off, today's video is sponsored by Raycon. They're a longtime sponsor of this channel, and it's very clear that I'm a big fan of their earbuds. Something else that's quite clear is their goal. Now, Raycon are out on a mission to prove that you do not need to spend an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart tech listening features. In fact, you can get a pair and a spare and still pay less than you would with some of those other big name tech brands out there. Now, I use them whenever I'm out at the gym, which is perfect because they are 1, sweat and water resistant, and 2, they have these custom gel tips which give a really comfortable in-ear fit and keeps them from falling out. So if you're looking to pick up some earbuds for yourself, click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/Thanovic to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. Firstly, to briefly explain this mechanic and why it's so useful. The flip reset is a mechanic where once all 4 of your wheels touch the ball at the same time, you, as the name states, reset your flip. So you can then flip again, but this time there is no time limit. Now normally there's around a 1.5 second window after you jump that you can use your second flip, but with a flip reset, once you actually get the reset and all 4 wheels touch the ball, you keep that flip until all 4 wheels come into contact with another surface or you use that flip. Now the reason why this is such a useful mechanic is because it allows you to move the ball in an unpredictable way while in the air, which is always useful to get over the defense. I believe the reset is a core staple in the Rocket League scene due to just how good it is to beating 1 or 2 players consistently. Now, I think if you want to learn this mechanic, I would normally recommend it to people when they reach around champ level, but I'm feeling nice and I'm gonna say something I never thought I would say. I've recently seen some really mechanically talented plats and diamonds who are hitting shots that I can't even hit. So I'm just gonna say, if you think you have the capabilities in the air to attempt a flip reset, go for it. It does take a decent amount of aerial control, and so if you need to work on that, I made a video last week that you can check out at the end of this video if you need to. Anyway, getting into step 1, arguably the most important part of the entire process, the setup. I know when you hear people say the setup is the most important part, you don't believe them because you are inclined to focus on the scoring part of the mechanic because it's the fun part. But please do put over half your time practicing the entire mechanic into the setup because it is 100% going to help you more in the long run than rushing over it. Now, to set up a flip reset, basically just jump in a free play at this point and we're going to start rolling the ball towards the wall. I will link a training pack in the description if you want to work on those, but I recommend you start in free play. In general, when you start off as well, I think you should be rolling the ball towards the wall around the halfway mark just to make it easy for yourself. Now, as the ball is rolling towards the wall, you already want to be looking at 2 things. Number 1, how fast is it rolling? And number 2, what angle is the ball going to roll up the wall? Now, the angle thing is just in case you aren't working at the direct middle of the pitch. This is because if you're all the way down your side of the field and the ball is going directly upwards, you have to do so much more work to get the ball moving towards your opponent's net. Instead, you want to try and angle the ball as it rolls up the wall so that it's moving both towards the opponent's net and at a good height. So if you're far away, you'll have to roll both up and towards the other end of the field, and if you're quite close to the opponent's net, you'll just want to roll the ball pretty much straight up the wall. However, like I said, when you are first learning, I recommend you learn around the halfway mark, as this allows you to focus on hitting the ball consistently instead of worrying about all the different angles to think about, as that will come later on. It also means you're going to be picking up the big boost pad when you do this in real games. Now, the speed the ball is rolling is also important because you want to try and match that speed. The reason you want to match the speed of the ball is so that you can very quickly catch up to it again while it's in the air. If you hit it too hard, it flies away. If you hit it too soft, it's not going to go very far at all. Now, an easy way to know if you and the ball are moving at good speeds is if you are hitting the ball on the wall just as it passes this line here. So those are just the things to focus on as you're coming up to the wall. Now, as the ball starts to move up the wall and reaches just over that line I just mentioned, you move into the ball to hit it with the nose of your car. Once again, make sure you are angling it so the ball is going to both travel up the wall and towards the opponent's goal. If you're wondering why we hit the ball with the nose of our car, it's just so that it makes it much easier for you to direct the ball the way you want it to go. So now that you have got the ball going up the wall, you know when to hit it and you know with what part of the car to hit it with, it's time to focus on that first contact. When making that first contact, you're going to have to go through a lot of trial and error when it comes to how hard you hit the ball. You might be going at the same speed, but if it's still just too fast, the ball will hit the ceiling. Work with different speeds, and if you're having a little bit of trouble, watch the clips that are going on in the background now over and over again to see the speeds that I approach my flip resets with. Over time, you will be able to work at different paces, but to begin with, let's just get a nice medium pace. So, with that first contact, hitting the ball with the nose of your car and sending it into the air, you should hit the brakes for a very split second. This is used to create distance between yourself and the ball. Now, the reason why distance is actually really important will come up a little bit later on, but for now, just know that you need to create some distance. You should just practice this over and over again. Set up in free play, take the ball to the wall, roll it up, make that first contact, and then break. Your goal when practicing this should be to launch the ball into the air as high as you can without it hitting the ceiling, as this is going to give you the most time to work with when going for the rest of the shot. Directly after you break, you should jump and follow the ball. This sounds a lot easier than it is, so we're going to break it down into smaller steps. You can follow the ball in two different ways. The first is what we are going to focus on now, and the second is what you should aim to work on later on. So for the first way to follow the ball, you're going to try and replicate this. Once you jump off the wall, you want to then point the nose of your car towards the ball and boost upwards to try to catch up to it. This might take a little bit of air rolling, but not too much at all, and the wheels of your car should be facing towards the roof pretty much the whole time. Now, this first way of going about following the ball is a little bit messy. It requires you to know how to fly backwards and upside down, which can be hard, but it is a decent way to start learning. After you hit the ball and jump, you should be naturally following the ball's flight path anyway, so all it would take is to direct the nose of your car towards the ball. However, if you aren't lined up perfectly, you can tap the manual air roll button a tiny bit to realign your car. This is under the assumption that you know how to air roll even a little bit, because if you can't, then flip resets are going to be really difficult for you. The other way to follow the ball, and the one that I use almost every single time, is to spin my car immediately so that I can fly normally through the air and then just spin upside down again when I'm close to the ball. I feel like this makes my movement in the air so much nicer for me and also gives me a few more options. It also means my opponents don't know if I'm going to go for an air dribble or if I'm going to go for that flip reset. Once again though, that's easier said than done. I can spin because I've done it thousands of times and it's just something I've done naturally for so long, but if you are just starting out, I'll explain how I do it. Firstly, I use normal air roll on L1 and air roll left on square. When I come off the wall, I press square and I hold my left analog stick to the right and slightly down. This keeps the nose of my car facing towards the ball, but turns the body of my car. On the left wall, this immediately turns the car so the wheels are facing down. And on the right wall, this turns the wheels facing up. But on the right hand side, I hold onto it a little longer so they turn all the way and face down again so I can fly towards the ball. This happens pretty quickly because I've gotten used to it. Then, as I'm approaching the ball, I press square and left analog stick to the right once again to continue the motion until the wheels are facing up now. Now, even though I don't use air roll right, you can pretty much just do the opposite. So instead of holding air roll left and pushing the analog stick to the right and down, you would hold air roll right and push the analog stick to the left and down. Now that's going to be a bit more difficult for those of you who are just starting off, so don't worry about it all that much. Just focus on flying upside down towards the ball, keeping your nose facing it. Now we focus on the actual contact with the ball in midair. If you aren't confidently flying towards the ball at this point, you should try to focus on that before you rush to the rest, because none of this is going to help you if you can't reach the ball. The first thing we want to focus on here is when to actually reach the ball. The best time to make contact with the ball is right at its peak, right when it's at the very top of its arc and has just started coming down again. This allows you to have more time with the ball after you get the reset. If you connect while the ball is falling, you will end up falling underneath it and have a really difficult time getting a good hit with your reset. If you connect while it's at the peak, you're going to fall nicely behind it and have plenty of time to work with it. When it comes to where on the ball you want to connect with, it actually isn't directly underneath. You want to hit the ball on a sort of 45-degree angle, not directly underneath and not directly on the side. This way you're around the same height as the ball and you have a much easier time following up afterwards. Now, remember earlier when I said we needed distance between the ball? The reason we needed distance is so that when we catch up to the ball and it's just beginning to drop, we're hitting into it. And we want to hit into the ball because that's what gives the ball its pop. If you don't smack into it, you won't get a very good pop and you'll make it more difficult for yourself to get a good shot afterwards. Now, I'm sure you already know this, but just in case you don't, the point of the car that you want to connect with the ball is the center of the underside. You can also see this as all four wheels, but there are some cars that this doesn't really line up with, so instead it's much easier to aim for the center of the underside of your car. Now, if you've done everything up to this point correctly, you should be hitting the ball with the underside of your car with enough speed to give the ball a little pop-up. Make sure you train these 3 steps over and over again before continuing, because the rest is actually very easy if you've done everything right, and you won't need anywhere near as much effort. Now, the last step is just shooting. And assuming you have done everything right up until this point, your car should be positioned just behind the ball at a decent height with your flip ready to go. The rest is now up to you. I can't really tell you how to shoot because it's very situational to how you're positioned in the air, but you can hold off your flip and use it later to try and get past the defender. You can use it straight away to get a boost of speed. You can air dribble the ball forwards and then use it to get closer to the net. It's your choice. All you need to do from here on out to complete the flip reset is to flip into the ball. Now, the last part is additional advice. Oftentimes I'll post videos like this and people will comment things like, I just don't know where I'm going wrong. I can't get this part down. And it's actually normally a very easy fix. It just needs a little bit of pointing out. So this next part of the video is just gonna be some rapid fire solutions to common flip reset problems. The first thing I see a lot of people struggling with or need a little bit of help with is actually landing on the ball. And one additional tip I can give you that can help you make that contact cleanly and to actually get the reset is to let go of the accelerate button as you do it. I think I do this subconsciously and it's not something I do all the time, so I don't know just how much it affects it, but a lot of people have said this has helped them. Another thing is to let go of boost as you get the reset, as I find this can also help you a lot. Next, this one comes up quite a lot. People struggle with their positioning after the reset, but this was actually already covered, so I'll just touch on it again really quickly. If you find your positioning to be wrong, if you're having a hard time being able to hit the ball or move with the ball after the reset, if you're too low to the ground or you're getting no power, it just means you aren't getting the reset at its peak, or that you're not landing at that 45-degree angle. You need to hit that sweet spot on the ball at the right height, and from there, the car will be positioned nicely. The other one I've seen quite a bit is people saying they can't line their car up to get to the ball. And unfortunately, that just comes down to aerial control and getting used to the movement. There are some things in this game that no matter how much I try to explain it to you, it just takes actual practice. Now, a little extra thing that might help some of you here, I do this sometimes myself as it can really help me to stay close to the ball. When I'm going up the wall, I won't boost at all, and instead I'll let my car just drive into the ball. Then instead of jumping right away, I'll continue driving slightly up the wall for a split second, and then I'll jump and catch up. I feel like this always puts the ball in a really nice spot for me. It can also help me with saving boost. So if you're struggling with that aspect, then maybe give that a go as well. Flip resets are a staple part of high-level Rocket League, and to get there, you need high-level aerial control. I'll have an in-depth aerial video coming soon, but if you want to learn more and get close to that control, the video you see on screen now can help you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.